Remember, folks, I'm just a Muppet in a chair. Don't take me seriously. Hey, what's going on, Boomerites? It's good to see you again. Back with another reaction. This one is another reaction to Jimmy the Giant. I liked his last video, and in my recommended feed here, I clicked on this one because it had the thumbnail was a big picture of Al Murray. So it intrigued me already. But it's called The Great British Pub Culture Explained. Now, I know little to nothing about it. All I know is, and I've said it before in other videos, is whenever it is I get around to visiting the United Kingdom, one of my top priorities is to have a beer at a pub in the UK. And I also said this, and I hope the bartender insults me. He calls me a dirty Yankee or something. But, you know, one can only dream, right? Hopefully around sometime in the next year I'll get my behind over there. But I like Jimmy the Giant's last video so much, I figured why not? Let's click on this one too. So, The Great British Pub Culture Explained. I will probably learn a lot from this because, you know, when you're told from subscribers and people just stopping by, like, different aspects of British culture that you should check out, even with all the reactions to Al Murray that I've done, nobody really said you need to check out a video on British pub culture. So this should be pretty cool. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the reaction. Remember to like, subscribe, do whatever you guys want. And let's check this out. And if you guys like Jimmy the Giant, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below this video so you guys can check him out on your own, okay? All right, let's check this one out. Here we go.
One of the great things about England is pubs.
My whole love of journalism and debating came from just observing people in the pub.
The Great British Pub has been the backdrop for debate, conflict, and even love. A place open for all, from geezers to hipsters to ladies' nights out.
We all mix together as one, and that's how it should be.
It is the backbone of British culture.
Go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, and wait for all
Yes,
this to
I love
blow
that
over.
movie.
So today we're going to explore this fascinating culture. We're going to go through its history, its controversies, and whether it's going to survive in the future. This is the story of the Great British Pub.
The British have a famous reserve when it comes to being sociable. And everything about the pub is micro-engineered to break down those social barriers and to enable people to talk to each other.
Pub is short for public house, with its origins dating as far back as 43 AD.
I don't mean to pause it so soon, but I immediately like that already, where it kind of blends the social classes together. Here in the States, and it's not all like this, but there are certain because we call them bars here, but there are certain bars you go to here where, you know, people of lower income will go to that bar, and at another bar, people of a much higher income will go to that bar. And I feel like, you know, they don't mix as much as it is said here, which maybe that's a similarity, and they just don't really cover it that much in this video. But I feel like the classes here, even though the class distinction is less prevalent, maybe, they don't mix as much in the bars. Because, like, you know, this is a rich person's bar. You know, this is a, you know, poor bar. You know, this is kind of like a middle class bar kind of thing. Not always, but I feel like more so than not. But let's continue. Fuck.
To 410 AD, and it came from the Romans as they occupied Britain. However, pubs as we know them today would really become popular in the Victorian era. They were communal meeting points that typically the working class could go to and enjoy themselves. Pubs fall into a few different categories, and they have changed a lot over the years, but let's start with three basic ones. Firstly, you have the traditional pub. These are often housed in like historic British buildings. Typically, there'll be laws and regulations over how you can change the building's exterior as a way to preserve the culture. So this means there's very low ceilings and very low doorways, because apparently people were smaller back then. A lot of the interior is made out of wood. There's wooden beams everywhere. There's usually an open fireplace, and it's designed to feel like a nice, homely, cozy living room. When it comes to drinks, they'll serve a range of beers, ales, ciders, and they might even offer traditional pub food, which we would call pub grub. Now let's move on to the next pub, and that is the country pub.
And every country village needs a country pub.
Now, as the name suggests, a country pub is far out in the sticks, way away from what they would refer to as city folk. Why this is different from a traditional pub is that traditional pubs can exist in very urban areas. The atmosphere of a traditional pub relies on its surrounding area. It might be a bit more fun, a bit more lively, and there might be, God forbid, young people in there. Whereas the country pub is quite the opposite. The country pub is more quiet, more cozy, more chill. It caters to the locals who will look at outsiders with a little bit of scorn. The locals have typically lived in that town for generations and generations.
And then we got their children's children.
So what you're saying is, if I want a British bartender to insult me and call me a dirty Yankee, then I need to go to a country pub, is what you're saying. Maybe not. Maybe I'll get called out at a traditional pub too. But I like the sound of both. I do.
And their grandchildren. And they still recognise you and still know you. Good night, Miss Pate. Good night, Sam. Good night, John. Good night, Teddy.
And then lastly, we can throw in brewery taps. A brewery tap is a pub that's attached to a brewery. They brew a beer on site and they sell it there. And these pubs tend to look a bit more industrial and are more used as a marketing tool for that beer. But for now, let's get a feel of what it's like to step foot into a traditional pub. Before we go any further with this video, I want to give a massive shout out to HelloFresh for sponsoring. HelloFresh is a recipe box that they send directly to your front door. All you use meals under you have to know more fun. You'll plan what time your first box plus the video.
Well, here we go.
Alright, so picture this. It's a Wednesday, you finish work, it was a bit stressful, and so what do? You of course venture down to the pub. Which pub will it be today? Will it be the famous Cock, the Red Lion, the Horse's mouth? And so you approach the front door of the pub and you push open the door to be greeted by another door for some reason. There's always these two doors. Instantly you hear Mickey and the boys sat in their usual spot, shouting about some political thing that they read in the Sun. Listen here boys, you know what I'd do if I was in charge, if I was Prime Minister? Yeah, what's that there, Mickey? I'd get a whole lot of them, take them outside and I'd shoot them. Yeah, that's about right, Mickey. In the corner of Mickey's eye, he sees you as you walk in. The whole table's attention turns. Here comes trouble. You exchange niceties for a couple of seconds and then Mickey, he'll escort you to the bar to go get a drink. These particular gentlemen are who you would refer to as the geezers.
Yeah, you trying to wind me up? I ain't trying to wind anyone up. I'm fucking serious.
I saw
These
that
are working
too.
class lads.
For those of you, I've been asked about movie reactions lately, and here on YouTube, I just don't have the time to edit these anymore, and I'm too poor to hire an editor. So on Patreon, I've been posting movie reactions like once a week. For those of you who were wondering about that, but hopefully in the next, there'll be like a month where I just set everything aside on the YouTube thing and then just get a bunch of movie reactions edited. I don't know, but it's been tough to get those on YouTube for quite some time now, so apologies for that.
They could be anywhere from the age of like 25 to 55 really. Might be a plumber, a sparky, a carpet fitter, you know, proper man's jobs. They're not going to be in the HR department working in diversity and inclusion. Now what's very interesting about the geezer is that the geezer exists within all British men. No matter how middle class you are, whether you shop at M&S or Waitrose, the infectious charisma and energy of the geezer will undoubtedly rub off on you at some point in the night.
Who's that? Oh, this is, what's your name?
Steve.
Steve.
In-betweeners, baby.
Usually around sort of beer 6, maybe 7. You'll leave your table, you head to the toilet, you might wobble there because you're getting a little bit intoxicated. And as you go for a piss, the door will bang wide open, Mickey walks right in, stands next to you, and he turns to you and he says, "You watched the game last night, mate?" To which you'll panic because last night you're at yoga and you need to now come up with a cover story. And so you will reply, "Nah, not me, mate. Mrs. was having none of it. You know how it is, mate." But this brings us on to our next pub goer, middle class Michael.
What a nice pub.
Before we go to the middle class one, I like how the geezers can be as young as 25. I think that was the cutoff point that he said, 25. But I like that the geezers can be young guys too.
the story, and so you will reply, "Nah, not me, mate. Mrs. was having none of it. You know how it is, mate." But this brings us on to our next pub goer, middle-class Michael.
What a nice pub. Yes, it's a lovely pub.
Now, middle-class Michael, he probably
Wait a minute, was that Peep Show? I haven't even got to that episode yet. Also, for those of you wondering, almost every show that I'm reacting to is getting blocked on YouTube, so it's impossible to get them up now. Those are on Patreon as well, for those interested.
in IT or marketing or something like that, an office job. He's come from work, so he's wearing his nice smart shirt, but he's undone a button, he's letting loose. He'll be somewhere in his late 20s to 30s. He probably lives in central London or some kind of city. But Michael too is welcome into the pub. In fact, all of his friends are welcome to come in and speak at an appropriate volume. Until about his 5th Copperberg, where he starts to find this feeling, this foreign feeling, which is called self-confidence. And he'll start speaking louder and louder until they're throwing up in the toilet. Next up, you have
I've done
the
that
old boys,
before.
aka the locals. These are men from the age of 60 to about really any day prior to their death. They're drinking proper drinks, they're drinking stout, Guinness. They all, of course, dress like farmers. They love Jeremy Clarkson. They hate young people. These are the main demographic of any good country pub.
And we're hearing...
Basically just the angry old people. Hey, I have a lot of elderly people who follow his channel, believe it or not, so... and my father's one of them. The older you get, the more set in your ways you tend to be. But, you were not forgotten, trust me. And you were highly entertaining.
We're in Killarney because we've been invited by a very special character. I hear he's a local legend. Sam, how are you?
Good, my dear.
But then you get a few little special guests, such as tourists, who are typically American. They're wearing some bright t-shirt. They've got a bum bag.
No! Who wears a fanny pack? I don't know a single person that wears a fanny pack. What do these people just hide in their homes and then travel abroad across the Atlantic and whip out the fanny pack? So, I'm here. Time to do some fanny hopping to the next town. Jolly good. How you doing, sir? Good to see ya. God damn, I love Britain. What is that? What happens? I never see anybody in this country wear a fanny pack ever. Because you know why? Because it's not 1991. I don't understand why these fanny packs keep popping up. Oh, God. You know what I think should happen? I think there should be a school, and if Americans get a passport and want to travel abroad, especially somewhere like Britain where English is the native language, I think they should be schooled on what not to do before they go overseas, because some of them embarrass us. Quite a bit.
But then you get a few little special guests, such as tourists, who are typically American. They're wearing some bright t-shirt. They've got a bum bag to keep all their things in. And they're saying something about how authentic this place is. It's so quaint. It's so British. And then you get families. Oh, I forgot to say you have the alcoholic who's sat in a corner, murmuring to himself. It's a pretty sad sight. But then finally you have one other group that will sometimes show their face in a pub. And that is women.
So much fun.
Sometimes.
And what's interesting about the pub is that pre-World War II, to see a woman in a pub was a very rare sight. It was frowned upon. It was a cultural taboo.
Do you object to me being served alongside you here, sir?
I think for myself that the place for women is the saloon bar or the lounge.
Why?
It was kind of like that so that husbands and wives could be away from
Sounds
each other,
fucked up.
so that the men could do men things, say naughty words. But nowadays you get what is called a ladies' night. Now this is the one night that ladies have decided they're going to go to the pub. They've spent 3 months over WhatsApp, organising, arguing, falling out over this night. It's a big night for them. It could be a hen do, a birthday, and they will arrive at the pub dressed in their skin-tight dresses, drinking gin and tonic, holding their purse. They're loud, they're passionate, they're dramatic. You'll have one in the corner crying her eyes out, she's staring at her phone, texting away furiously. Another being kicked out by the bouncers as she vomits over herself.
Put your fucking hands up me again!
It's quite a sight to see, an image that I'm sure the suffragettes never imagined would happen. Progress.
It's an unforeseen consequence. And it can
So
be a
what I'm
good
hoping that you understand is that the pub is really a place for everyone.
because it makes us all the same, really, right?
you with all your mates and you're all having a laugh and you're all doing everything. It seems to be like the catalyst to make a good time.
However, over the years, things have changed a lot.
Now, I'm worried about the closure of pubs.
More than 150 pubs have closed their doors for good in England and Wales.
They face a cost of living crisis head on.
Now look, it's never been easy for pubs when it comes to laws. It's been like this tug of war between the government and pubs for a very long time. And that is for the simple fact that alcohol is a bit troublesome.
Can be, yes.
In 1552, the Ale House Act was passed, where pubs would be required a license from a local authority in order to be able to sell beer. In 1830, the Beer House Act came along. New laws would pop up, like a legal drinking age. Also, opening hours were pretty tight. But by 1960s, the laws were relaxed somewhat. So from here to about the 2000s, things were flourishing. Having a simple bevy with the boys had...
I noticed you guys never got around to completely banning alcohol, except for religious or medicinal purposes, like we did for quite a while. I can't remember how long it was, the prohibition, but yeah, we banned. I want to say we banned it for like almost 15 years. It was right after World War One. It was 19. I want to say 1919 or 1920 to like 1933 or 34, right when Franklin Roosevelt got elected, because he got rid of it immediately. But it was called the Volstead Act, if you want to look it up. But yeah, I don't think you guys ever went that far. If there was a time where you guys came close, please let me know, because I'd be curious to read about it on my own. Anyway.
Also, opening hours were pretty tight. But by 1960s, the laws were relaxed somewhat. So from here to about the 2000s, things were flourishing. Having a simple bevy with the boys had evolved. Now you could walk into a pub and there might be things like pool tables, dartboards.
And it's a 5-point round.
You go into any good pub and there will be locals who are insane at pool and darts. They'll come in with their own cases, their own sticks, their own table if they could. And if they get good enough...
To be fair, we got that here. We got some... Especially around where I live, shout out to Tyrell, one of my best friends. He has his own stick, and he treats that thing like it's his child. I mean, he loves his pool stick.
They can enter professional leagues. They can become professional athletes. I mean, take Phil Taylor, for instance, a professional darts player. Look at him. He is your typical pub goer. But look, if darts and pool isn't what you're into, there's something for everyone. You might be more into board games. So you grab a board game in this box that looked like it survived World War II, or you could attend a quiz night.
The town of Leicester is the birthplace of which mass murderer?
But really, it would be in 2007 where things would take a massive turn, where pub culture as we knew it would be gone forever.
A countrywide smoking ban went into effect in the UK on Sunday.
The smoking ban. When smoking ciggies were banned from pubs, this was a major issue in Britain.
Make a place for the smokers and a place for the non-smokers that's segregated off. Not herders out here like bloody prostitutes standing on this corner, which is what you feel like when you're standing here with a cigarette.
I'm not joking, this was as big of a deal as Brexit, Trump, trans athletes.
Really? I did not know that. A lot of... It's different state to state here. In Maryland, they banned smoking indoors completely. And here in Florida, most places have banned smoking inside, but there are some, usually the older bars and restaurants, mainly bars, but older bars that that have been grandfathered in, where you can smoke inside. But most of them you can't. But it hasn't been outlawed completely. If it's been grandfathered in, it's okay. But as big as Brexit, I mean, that's bold. Because even, I don't know as much about Brexit as you guys do, but I know it's a very contentious issue still. And, we were hearing the ripples over here about how nasty some of the arguments got over there about it. So to be compared to Brexit, that's saying a lot. So This might be something I gotta look into.
Prostitute standing on this corner, which is what you feel like when you're standing here with a cigarette.
I'm not joking, this was as big of a deal as Brexit, Trump, trans athletes. And this is where the government had proposed that we were no longer allowed to smoke cigarettes inside of a pub. And there was uproar from landlords to pub goers, where the classic atmosphere of a pub, you know, where you'd open the door and a plume full of smoke would come out like a dragon's lair, would now be replaced with breathable air. And we couldn't have that. And it's true, it was part of the atmosphere, but ultimately the ban passed and you had to go outside and smoke cigarettes. From this point on, traditional pub culture only really got worse and worse. With the rise of social media and home media, people didn't really need to leave the house to get entertainment. On top of this, the younger generation were, God forbid, drinking less. And there's been a constant decline in pubs throughout England since 2000.
Really?
Yes, boys, how you doing? Are you alright?
Yeah. On top of this, alcohol is easier and cheaper to get a hold of from supermarkets. We, as society, have a greater variety of things to do. You don't just have to sit in a pub, you could go get a coffee, you could go for a meal. And so as pubs become less popular and the cost of living goes up, there has been a major decline in pub culture across Britain. But look, it's not all bad news. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is Wetherspoons.
Today I want to talk about one of the great British institutions, Wetherspoons.
Now, Wetherspoons isn't a traditional pub. It's kind of this pub-bar hybrid. It's like a super chain that exists all across Britain, where it takes our favourite elements of traditional pubs, the way they look, the way they feel, combine that with incredibly cheap beer and food, and it attracts a more wider demographic of young people.
Really?
And I think at this point it's pretty safe to say that Wetherspoons, or Spoons as we abbreviate it to, has kind of become a British institution in and of itself. It's the start of every good night out. It's the place we love to...
Yes, but what is better? Wetherspoons or the pubs? I would think the pubs, right? Because they're the ones that started it. And that's where, you know, the intermingling goes on, if that's a word. I don't know. I felt like Carl Pilkington saying that. But I would imagine the pubs is better, right? But maybe some people will make arguments for Wetherspoons. It sounds like it's popular based on what he just said, but, you know. Like anything, you gotta really do your research on your own after you watch something like this to figure it out, right? But maybe some of you guys can tell me about it.
Hey, but inside, we all have a soft spot for it. It's still got all of the fights, all of the political debates. The owner, Tim Martin, literally did a Brexit tour around Spoons. And it's even got love. Personally, I think as a society, tradition is really important. It's what makes culture so unique and fascinating. It makes people want to come and experience them. So next time you're at your local boozer, grab yourself a pint, take a sip and look around for a second. And appreciate everything that's gone in to the Great British Pub. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and watch this video right here.
Subscribe to Jimmy the Giant. Yes, I am. And I feel like I'm going to be binging his videos, maybe in front of you guys or on my own. I think I actually the other day I just watched one on my own, but it had nothing to do with Britain. It was something completely different. But yeah, it was a good video. However, and this is not Jimmy the Giant's fault, I want more. I want to know more about these things, particularly the smoking ban. Especially since it was compared to Brexit. I mean, that's a hell of a statement right there. I mean, like I said, Americans, we may not know much about Brexit or what the two sides were, you know, arguing about, but we know of it because it was like it was the storm over there that you heard about, kind of like what Trump was here and all that craziness. You know what I mean? So for the smoking ban to be compared to Brexit, that's wild. That is fucking wild. I smoked for a long time. I not anymore, but I was a smoker for quite some time. And only quit recently, believe it or not. So if there was and maybe this story, and this is my own personal story, maybe this will add something to this right here. When I was about to turn 21, because 21 is the legal drinking age here. I believe it's 18 in the UK, but here it's 21. And in Maryland, in the state of Maryland, which is where I'm from and where I used to live, I was counting down the days to be able to, because all I wanted to do on my 21st birthday was to walk into a bar, sit down, order a Budweiser, which was my favorite beer at the time, order a Budweiser, and smoke a cigarette. That's all I wanted. People were like, dude, we got to go, you know, to Ocean City, Maryland, or like New York City or Atlantic City, or, you know, somewhere crazy, you know, and just go all out. I was like, no, fuck that. I just want to go into the bar down the street, and I want to have my Budweiser, and I want to smoke a cigarette. That's all I want. And literally weeks before my birthday, it was put into law that Maryland, the state of Maryland, had banned smoking cigarettes indoors. So you couldn't smoke at any bars at all. And it happened right before my birthday, and I was pissed. I was absolutely pissed, because that's all I wanted to do for my 21st birthday. So the smoking ban in the UK for the smokers out there, I can feel your pain. But that's a little different, though, because wouldn't that be a nationwide ban in the UK, smoking indoors, you know? Whereas here in the United States, it was a state-to-state thing. A lot of states have banned smoking inside. Not all of them, though. And there are some states, like the one I'm in now, Florida, which can be flexible, where if you, before they passed the law banning smoking, if you had a bar that allowed smoking, it was your choice if you wanted to keep allowing people to smoke inside. So you were grandfathered in, as they say. But I understand the anger and the outrage at not being able to smoke inside at a bar. Now, because I don't smoke anymore, it's not that big of a deal to me anymore. But even like a few weeks after I turned 21, I wasn't upset about it anymore, you know? So maybe I wasn't, but when it happened, I was outraged. But then after a couple months, I was like, whatever, I'll just smoke outside. But so I remember that quite well, and I can get it. But to compare it to Brexit, that's saying something, man. But yeah, a very interesting video. But I do feel like I need more. I need to learn more about that kind of thing. But it was very interesting, and I hope you guys enjoyed the reaction. Maybe you guys learned something, because, of course, I'm talking to the Brits that follow the channel, because you guys dominate the subscriber base on this channel, and rightfully so. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the reaction. Like, subscribe, do whatever you guys want, and I'll leave a link to Jimmy the Giant's channel, because it seems like a really good channel, actually. Very well put together videos, and quite informative and entertaining. So go check out Jimmy the Giant on your own. Anyway, I'm out of here. Y'all have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time, Boomerites. Peace out.